Mr. Harker, you will help me.
If it's at all possible. But tell me, why is Count Dracula keeping you prisoner?
I cannot tell you that.
But if I'm to help you, I must know.
I'm sorry. It's not possible.
You make it very difficult for me. After all, I'm a guest here. If I'm to help you, I must have a reason.
A reason? You asked for a reason. Is it not reason enough that he keeps me locked up in this house? Holds me against my will? You can have no idea what an evil man he is. What terrible things he does. I could not, dare not try to live on my own.
And welcome to the Ancient Slumber podcast. This is show number 6, or 6.1 I should point out, because there was an abortive attempt at another one, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. My name is Chris Ward, and joining me for a little chat about something horrible is Myron Schmidt. How you doing, Myron?
Good, how are you, Chris?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Excellent.
Yeah, we had to abort the last show because it sounded terrible.
That sounds like us. Ever the consummate professionals.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so the last show that people would have heard us from was the Omen discussion we had, which was back at the end of November.
God, it's been that long, huh?
It's been that long. So we did record our end-of-year show with all our top picks of the year, but the playback was terrible.
That sounded like shite, too.
Well, yeah, your microphone was knackered, so you had to use a phone. My laptop decided to download Windows 10, so the audio was all jittery. We sounded like a pair of rappers. Yeah, so
thugs are us.
Thugs are us. So we did that as a written piece for the blog. Right, before we begin, I just want to step back to that Omen show a second, because a couple of bits that we missed out. We didn't score Omen 3.
Really?
Yes. So I'm going to say now 3.5 inverted crucifixes. How many for you?
I'm going to have to go with 3 inverted crucifixes.
3, okie dokie. And then we didn't...
Which is... It's pretty remarkable that we're that close.
I know. And we didn't order the films in our preference.
Really?
Yes. So I'm going to say, from good to bad, Omen 2, Omen 1, Omen 3, the remake, Omen 4.
I have to go with number 1, number 2, number 3,
yep,
the remake,
yep,
and that other thing.
Yeah, I thought that's where you'd go. So yeah, we're not too dissimilar on that one.
No, not really.
Not really. And I did get the name of one of the actors wrong. Giovanni Lombardo Radici, and I said Radice, because I read it phonetically, because I'm a moron.
That's all right.
There we go. My OCD's complete now. I can rest assured that I've corrected everything.
Now just to get the latest 2 Down EPs and you'll be good.
No, I'll just stick with them when they were good, first 3 albums.
No, there you go. Maybe you should edit that out.
No, I'm keeping that in, fuck it. Phil Anselmo, dearie me. Anyway, right, on with the show. It's been a funny start to 2016. We got a lot of celebrities disappearing.
We do. A lot of them.
Obviously, we had Lemmy over the Christmas period.
And then we had, David Bowie shortly thereafter.
David Bowie. Are you a Bowie fan?
I'm not the hugest fan of his music. I like some of it. I don't like some of it. But I guess the thing with Bowie is he was unique. And he showed other people it was cool to be unique. And I always admired him for that. Yeah,
he's one of them artists, a bit like Queen, I think. I never really liked him as a musician. I mean, not liked him, but his music did nothing for me. But I appreciated him. I think we needed more musicians like him.
Exactly. He went his own road, and he told people it was okay to go your own road.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was another loss. So the loss of Lemmy really hit me. I wrote a piece on the blog about that because I've never written a piece about a celebrity dying before, but don't know, something I've had to get something down.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I grew up on and off listening to Motorhead. Could I name 10 songs? No, but Motorhead as a group was definitely part of my metal upbringing. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm a massive, lifelong Motorhead fan. Always have been. I'm still coming to terms with that one, if I'm honest. But
well, yeah, I mean, and he was, by all accounts and all the interviews I've heard, and lately there's been a lot, he was just a absolute top bloke, nice guy, honest, kind to everyone, and anybody with those kind of credentials that passes away is a loss.
It's a shame that it takes their death for them to get the recognition they deserve, really.
It really is. It really, really is.
But there were some of us in the know all along.
Exactly, and I actually did. I spent probably, over 20 years never going to a concert for one reason or the other, mainly kids.
Yeah.
But, I was able to take my youngest son to see Ronnie James Dio before he passed away.
All right.
With Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler and one of the Appice brothers.
Vinny Appice.
Vinny.
Oh, you saw Heaven and Hell?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, and I got to tell you, Black Sabbath was a huge part of my metal upbringing, and to be able to listen to him after never seeing them live, rip into songs like Mob Rules, which was one of the first vinyl Black Sabbath records I ever bought.
Yeah,
it was a little overwhelming. Oh my God, should have been there. It was kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, I never saw that lineup. The only chance I had to see that was they played the Birmingham NEC on the Devil You Know tour, and I was at the motorbike show in the building next door, and I sort of jokingly said to my dad, "Oh, should we just run across and get a ticket for that? I'd like to go and see that." And we didn't. And then Ronnie James Dio died not long afterwards, so never got to see that lineup, unfortunately.
The most amazing thing is that he sounded to me just like he did on the records. Just as perfectly clear, perfect as
his voice stayed strong all the way through, didn't it?
It did. It really, really did.
But I think that last record, that Devil You Know, I love that album, and I think his voice sounded it matured as he got older.
In a lot of ways it did.
It still had the strength, but it sounded maybe a key deeper or something like that, but it had a different kind of strength to it.
Yes, but, it's, and the thing with Ronnie James Dio, if memory serves me, died of colon cancer.
Was it colon or was it stomach?
I thought it was colon. But anyways, we're talking colon cancer. Highly preventable. If you've got symptoms, go get it checked out. Prostate checks, colonoscopies, they're not that bad. Just go do it. Exactly. It could save your life.
Exactly. Yeah, we also lost Angus Scrimm.
We did.
From Phantasm, which was a great shame.
Absolutely was.
I do hope they get to release Phantasm 5, though.
Me too.
His scenes were filmed, I believe, so hopefully that'll go out as a nice little tribute to him, because that's the film everyone wants to see.
Absolutely.
Alan Rickman.
Yes. Hans Gruber passed away.
Yes, and twice. Off the building. And, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, another great villain, Hans Gruber, yeah.
Yeah. Great actor.
Was a great actor. And also this morning, this won't mean much to you, but this very morning it was announced that Terry Wogan has died.
I saw that on Twitter.
Do you know who Terry Wogan is?
I have no clue who Terry Wogan is.
No, he was a DJ, a TV presenter, personality. He was one of those. He was pretty much done everything. If you watched British TV in the last 40, 50 years or listened to British radio, you would have heard or seen him at some point. He's just one of them that everybody knows. He was a big part of me growing up. I mean, I wasn't saying I was a massive fan of his or anything like that, but he was always on telly. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
He used to present a game show called Blankety Blank, which I used to quite like when I was a kid. But yeah, great shame. He's one of them. He just always seems to have been around. Now he's not.
Exactly.
So not a great start to 2016, unfortunately.
And the drummer for What the Hoople passed away as well.
Yes, and I also think I read that a member of Jefferson Airplane passed away as well.
Oh God, yes, the guitar player.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but
Cantner.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go. It's all happening.
Exactly.
Anyway, enough death and destruction. Let's get on with some more death and destruction of our own.
Exactly. Yeah, let's do that.
Should we do some good, bad, and ugly?
Let's do some good, bad, and ugly.
Do you want to give us one good?
It is a film called When Animals Dream, directed by Jonas Arnby.
Right.
It is a... Have you seen this one yet?
No.
It is a werewolf flick. It's done kind of in the same, quote, art house, unquote, kind of feel like Let the Right One In, the original French version.
Yeah.
It's subtitled
It's
and
not
very,
French,
very
it's
good.
Scandinavian.
Let the Right One In?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
I thought it was French for some reason.
No, is it Swedish or Norwegian? Swedish, I think, but it's Scandinavian.
Well, I'll be a son of a bitch.
See, bloody Americans don't know anything about the rest of the world, do you?
No, we don't. Although half of us are looking to move to somewhere in the rest of the world if Donald Trump gets elected, but I digress. But it's highly recommended. I think you would like it.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one, to be honest.
It's on Netflix America.
Oh, that doesn't help me then.
I know. I hear you guys have shite on Netflix over there.
Oh, we got shite on every channel. That's why I like DVDs so much.
What about you, Mr. Chris?
I'm just looking through to pick one that good. Here's one. I watched this on Friday night, and I know you've seen this. Bone Tomahawk.
Ah, Bone Tomahawk. Good movie.
Yeah.
Slow burn, but good movie.
A big slow burn, but I think the payoff is worth it.
It is.
Yeah, it's sort of Hills Have Eyes, but in the Wild West, isn't it, really?
Yes, in a lot of ways it is like that. Very well acted. We got Kurt Russell killing it again on the screen.
He's magnificent, isn't he?
Yes.
And also Richard Jenkins is worthy of a mention, playing his deputy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're very... would be nice to see him get some recognition for that.
Speaking of Kurt Russell and your love of Rocky movies, will we ever get a Tango and Cash Part 2?
No, we won't.
Isn't that too bad? Because that was kind of a good movie.
We won't, because I'm going on the fact that Kurt Russell was asked to appear in an Expendables movie and said no, because he feels it's looking backwards.
Ah, okay.
So I can't see him doing a sequel to Tango and Cash. I still reckon that Kurt Russell should play Batman if they do Dark Knight Returns as a live action.
Really?
Yes. I would have said Clint Eastwood, but I think he's a bit too old now. I think Kurt Russell, imagine him with the cowl on, that jaw.
Yes.
But an old rough Batman, that would work.
Yes. It would absolutely work.
That's my shout. You heard it here.
Quentin Tarantino, get on that.
Yeah, I'll be up for that.
Can you imagine Quentin Tarantino directing a Batman movie with Kurt Russell? I could get on that quick.
Did you ever hear about the Bond movie idea that he had?
No.
Back before Casino Royale came out, Tarantino's pitch was a Bond movie set in the 60s, starring Pierce Brosnan, but done in black and white.
Now that's an interesting thought. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. It didn't happen. Not going to happen. Bone Tomahawk. It's good. Go watch it.
Absolutely.
Right. Give us a bad one.
Oh, boy. A 1982 movie called The Forest.
Right.
Directed by Don Jones.
Okay.
A couple of young ladies go camping with their significant others, following about 2 hours behind them, run afoul of a crazy cannibal. I think there was ghost sightings. It was just bad. Even for 1982 slasher standards, it was just... Couldn't get into it, didn't care about the characters, couldn't care less about anything.
Well, there you go.
That's right.
Nope, I'm not familiar with that one, if I'm honest.
You're for the better.
Okay, my bad. Right, yeah, you'll like this one. Return of the Living Dead 5, Rave to the Grave.
I have no words.
Now, let me explain. As you know, I have this compulsive thing where I have to own everything in a franchise. If I have one film, I have to own them all. I obviously own Return of the Living Dead 1, 2 and 3 because they're great. I have seen the fourth one, but I don't actually own it yet. And I say yet because I know I'm going to fucking buy it at some point. I was actually looking for something else on the internet, and this one popped up, Rave to the Grave. I have seen it before. It's normally around about £6 to buy, and it popped up and it was £1.
With £5 for shipping?
No, only another £1.20 for shipping. But it was a German steelbook.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I would have bought that too.
So, yeah. £1 for a steelbook, and I've got to be honest, the artwork on the steelbook is great. It looks like an Old Testament album cover. Really, really good. But the film is just fucking dire. It really is. It's better than Part 4, I'll give it that.
Rave to the Grave, well, you know, that says it all.
But it's just, they try and recapture the first film. They bring the Tar Man back in, but it's done so badly. The comedy just misses by a mile. You know, the nudity that's in it, it's all fake tits, and I can't be doing with that. Yeah, it's just bad. Bad film. I would like my £1 back, to be honest. It'll cost me more to send it back, so I'm not going to bother. But
it is a steelbook.
The steelbook does look nice on the shelf. I'll never watch it again, but it's there.
I actually found that I have an old Texas Chainsaw Massacre DVD steelbook.
Oh, nice. What, the first one?
I believe so.
Ah. Oh, yeah, there was an American one. Was it the 3-disc one or the 2-disc one?
I think I think it's 2.
Yeah,
I have to get up and
I used
look.
to have that, the region one. I got it for about 50p. I haven't got it anymore, though.
I paid a little more. It's a little dented up, but it was a steelbook. I couldn't resist it for $3.
Yeah, that was released over here in a 3-disc set, and it's got exactly the same stuff on it. But it's called the Ultimate Edition over here.
Okay.
Yeah, I know the one. You need to get the 40th anniversary set of that, you do realise.
I have never seen a Blu-ray of that in the stores.
I don't know if there is an American. There must be, surely.
I've only ever seen the DVD, and I keep thinking, I got to go home and look that up on Amazon, then I forget.
Alright. I managed to get yeah, because it was released over here by Second Sight, I believe, which I've got, and I've also got an Australian version, because the Australian version was about £10, and it was cheaper than paying £20 for the British one. Okay, yeah, worth getting. Right, that's me, so we've done good, we've done bad. Give us an ugly.
A truly ugly one was a 2012 movie called After.
Right.
But bus crashes, 2 survivors, they're obviously dead. They walk around and try and do whatever it is they're going to do. To be honest, I'd sooner watch Contracted 2 on reloop than have to sit through this again.
Oh. Okay.
And I loved Contracted, the first one, so.
Oh dear. So it was an ugly film to sit through, was it?
Oh, it was horrid.
Anything else to say on that?
No.
I love that concise reviewing there.
Yes.
Okay. I'll go for my ugly then. Scrolling down the list, I'm going to put in Aliens vs. Predator Requiem.
Really, why?
Because it's a fucking horrible film to look at.
Is it really?
Have you ever seen it?
Yes, I own a Blu-ray.
The second one, yeah, this was a Blu-ray. I love Aliens, I love Predator. I'm not as harsh on the Aliens vs. Predator first film as a lot of people are. The second one, there are bits of it I actually like. It's not a very good film. I really want to like it more than I do. My main problem with it is everything's so dark. And films are dark so you don't have to see the crap special effects. That's why they do it. It's a film I've seen on DVD about 3 or 4 times, and every time I put it on, I go, I'm going to like it this time. I must have been in a bad mood last time. And then I saw the Blu-ray for sale for about £2. So I thought, well, I'll get it on Blu-ray. Because I've got all the other Alien films on Blu-ray. There you go. And I thought maybe the Blu-ray would bring out something I haven't seen before. No, I still can't make out what's going on.
Oh, jeez.
But there are bits of it I like. I like the brutality of it, and I like the setting in like the woods, the forest. I don't know whether they're Virginia or somewhere like that. I like the fact that the face huggers are now black. They've made them darker, which I think makes them look creepier. There's all things I like in it, but it just plays out so bad, and it just looks bad. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really want to like it, but I just can't.
I don't mind it, unfortunately.
No. And I know I'll watch it again. I'll get to that point where I've seen that for a long time. I'll stick it on, see if it's as bad as I remember it. and it will be. But there you go.
That's right.
Right, should we get on to our main topic of discussion?
I think we should.
I think we should.
It's a big topic.
It's a big topic. I think we preface this by saying this was a listener suggestion.
It was.
It was. I put out on Twitter if anyone's got any sort of franchises they'd like us to talk about. And Mr. Sean Munger replied with he'd like to hear us talk about the Hammer Dracula films.
Which was a good suggestion. I've not seen hardly any of the Hammer Dracula films, so it was wonderful for me.
No. So, I'm going to play a trailer for 1958's Dracula.
This is the story of Dracula, a creature who destroys all whom he touches. Dracula the terrifying, the feared, who sleeps in the tombs of the dead by day and arises at night to inflict his terror upon the innocent and the unsuspecting.
Oh, you must help me. You must. You're my only hope. You must.
I'll help you. I promise. Please try and understand. This is not Lucy, the sister you loved. It's only a shell, possessed and corrupted by the evil of Dracula.
How do you destroy a fiend who has so far proven himself indestructible? Those who come to end his reign of terror stay to become his victims.
Castle Dracula is somewhere here in Klausenberg. Will you tell me how I get there?
You ordered a meal, sir. As an innkeeper, it's my duty to serve you. When you've eaten, I ask you to go and leave us in peace.
This is the doctor who dares to challenge the vampire Dracula. This is the anguished man who fears for the lives of his beloved, the girl who is his sister, and the one that is his wife. Dracula, the bedeviled master of all that is evil.
Right, Dracula, 1958, directed by Terence Fisher, starring Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, Michael Gough, Melissa Stribling, Carol Marsh, Olga Dickey, John Van Eason, and Valerie Gaunt.
Oh.
Ooh. Ooh.
All of which I have no idea who are except for Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
You know who Michael Gough is. Batman, 1989. Plays Alfred.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Thank you for that fact.
There you go. Synopsis, I suppose. Well, it's an adaptation of Dracula, obviously, but Hammer have made a few changes.
They have.
They have. In this one, Jonathan Harker is already at Dracula's castle, and he knows who Dracula is.
That's right. That's a big one.
That's a big change. After Jonathan Harker attacks Dracula at his castle, the vampire travels to the nearby town where he preys on the family of Harker's fiancée. The only one who may be able to protect them is Dr. Van Helsing, Harker's friend and fellow student of vampires, who is determined to destroy Dracula, whatever the cost.
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe not. Right. Dracula, or Horror of Dracula.
Exactly.
As you know it, because Americans obviously are very easily confused, and you would have gotten confused with the 1931 Dracula film.
Of course we would have.
Yes, obviously 25 or so years later.
That's right.
I do believe that I did read somewhere that in 1958, when this came out, that the Bela Lugosi Dracula was still being shown at like midnight movie showings and things like that.
I think I read the same thing.
Yeah, so I think that it was to avoid confusion with that more than anything.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we have delicate sensibilities and simple minds.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, if you go to Walmart, you cannot buy the movie Deathgasm. You have to get it as Heavy Metal Apocalypse.
With that fucking stupid cover on it.
Well, of course.
Obviously. You're right to sell handguns to people, though, aren't you?
Now, wait a minute. Now, do not make this a Second Amendment issue.
I'm sorry. We can sell guns to people to go on killing sprees, but we can't let you watch a DVD about a demon killing someone with a guitar. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Exactly.
Oh,
Or we cannot offend anyone's delicate sensibilities in this country. Yeah. Walmart also changed A Christmas Horror Story to A Holiday Horror Story.
Did they?
They did.
Fuck off, no. Really?
Serious as a heart attack.
Oh, man.
I would send you a picture. Camera, my phone is broken, so I can't get a snap of it.
I'll look it up later. Fucking hell. Ooh, we can't offend anybody.
Absolutely. But by God, we want to have 500 round clips to go in our pistols to
Oh, exactly. It's every man's right to carry a firearm, isn't it? But you can't.
Home protection.
But you can't watch a film with a few tits and blood in it. Never mind.
Exactly.
But that's another issue for another day. Anyway, back as we are. Hammer. So I was under the impression that you had seen a lot of Hammer films.
No, I've not seen a lot of Hammer films at all.
No, see, in Britain, it's sort of, especially if you're my age or a little older, it's sort of part of growing up, really.
Yes, that's the exact impression I got of you. And to be honest, until you suggested we do a Hammer discussion, I hadn't seen any Hammer films.
Oh, see, I thought you had.
No, I hadn't.
Okay, yeah, because what they used to do in the late 70s and into the 80s, the channel over here, BBC Two, used to do Saturday night double bills. And they started out doing Hammer Universal. So they would show, like, the Universal Frankenstein, and then straight after they'd show the Hammer Frankenstein. That sort of thing.
Oh, very nice.
And obviously as the years go on, you start running out of comparisons. So in the end, they just started showing, like, Hammer films, whatever they were. Devil Rides Out, or a Dracula film, or Twins of Evil, whatever it was. And so, I remember in the mid-80s watching a lot of Hammer films that were on telly. We got a video, my dad used to tape them, and I used to watch them on a Sunday morning. So yeah, before I sort of got into the sort of what I would call the modern horror, we were always allowed to watch Hammer films. It's where I first sort of got my knowledge of who Christopher Lee was. Not so much Peter Cushing, because I'd seen Star Wars, I knew who he was anyway. Yeah, and a lot of the other actors who pop up in amongst the films, I'm sure we'll get to mention. But yeah, I absolutely love Hammer films. As a sort of, to show you where I am on them, me and my missus were actually watching a quiz show over here called Mastermind. You know that?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it used to be intellectual people would go on and they would have a specialist subject and they would have a couple of minutes to answer questions on that subject. And then they do a general knowledge round, and then whoever scores the most wins the Mastermind title. But as with everything nowadays, they do Celebrity Mastermind. So it's all dumbed down now. But you can go on and your specialist subject can be anything.
Celebrity Mastermind.
Oh no, fucking anyway. Yeah, anyway, that was on telly. So
did they ever have Mama June from Here Comes Honey Boo Boo?
No. Never heard of it.
You don't know who Mama June is?
No.
You're lucky.
Are we fortunate?
Yes, you are.
Someone's been on there once before and did their specialist subject was Iron Maiden.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because my missus said to me, what would your specialist subject be? And I said, well, I would do Iron Maiden, but somebody's gone on and done that. I said, so it would probably be Hammer films.
Oh, wow.
I'm a big fan, yeah. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen a lot of them. I own a lot of them. They're slowly trickling out on Blu-ray over here, which is good. So, yeah, Hammer films. Love them.
Well, thanks to you, I now own 8 Hammer films. Nope, 7.
Right. Are they all Dracula ones?
One of them has a Frankenstein on it.
Oh, yeah, you got that 2-film one, didn't you? Oh, well, I'm sure we'll get to Frankenstein one day.
It's a 3-film.
Ah, okay. Right then, so this is was this a first watch for you then, Dracula?
It was. It was when I really enjoyed it. I really did, and yes, it was better than Argento's Dracula.
Yeah, a lot of things are.
Well, not a lot, but there are many things. But it was very good. I enjoyed I really enjoyed the how they kind of differed from the original and things like that. It was, it was a great fun watch.
A lot of the differences are there because of rights issues, because Universal owned the rights to adapt Bram Stoker's novel.
Oh, that would explain it.
The ironic thing being that Universal fought tooth and nail with Hammer to keep the rights, so Hammer couldn't do certain things, which also applies to the Frankenstein films as well. That's why they couldn't copy the Frankenstein makeup. And literally about 6 months after this film came out, Universal lost the rights and the book became public domain anyway. So Hammer could have waited 6 months and done what they wanted.
It was still good, though.
Yeah.
It was still very good.
Yes. It marks itself out, I think, from the other Dracula adaptations.
It absolutely does.
Mainly down to, I would say, Christopher Lee.
And why do you say that?
I like his Dracula.
He does do a very good Dracula, although oddly, he doesn't speak much.
No, he doesn't. But I think, obviously, when you think of the character of Dracula, Bela Lugosi is sort of the image that you have.
Yes.
But I think that works well if you're looking at a picture, like a poster or something.
Right.
But I think if you want to see him moving around and doing stuff, Bela Lugosi was a podgy middle-aged man, basically. Christopher Lee's he's got that presence, he's got that gravitas.
Yes,
and,
yes.
I rewatched it last night, actually, and there was a shot in there which I thought was fantastic. It's near the beginning when he's taking Jonathan Harker up to his room, and you see them both from behind just walking up a staircase. And the way that Christopher Lee is dead upright, he looks about a foot taller than Harker, but he's not, but he looks really tall. And the way his cape is billowing as he walks, and it just looks fantastic.
It's all very British.
Yes.
The stiff walking and all that, it's all very British, and somehow that injects a little class, if you will, into it.
Yeah, even when, like, the scene where Dracula bursts into the room when he's got blood on his fangs and he leaps across the table to grab the woman out of the way of Harker.
Right.
It's obviously it's very staged choreography, a way of doing it, which a lot of films were back then. But yeah, I know what you mean. It adds a sort of character to it, I suppose.
It does.
Yeah. Whereas had he been American, he'd have just dived in across the table, forward roll, onto his knees, and pulled out a .357 Magnum.
In slow motion Matrix style, of course.
Bullet time in 1958.
Well,
But of course, it's not just Christopher Lee, because we have Peter Cushing.
Yes, we do.
And who is fantastic, I think, in this film.
He makes the perfect Von Helsing.
He is. I love all spoilers all the time. We're going to spoil all these films. They're fucking 60 years old, so bollocks. But at the end, when he kills Dracula, he leaps up on that table and runs across it and pulls the curtain off. All right, you look at it nowadays, think, oh, that's nothing special. You think back, 1958, it wasn't. Actors didn't do that. Apart from the pirate films, bit of swashbuckling going on.
Yeah.
You didn't get that sort of level of athleticism in a performance, and Peter Cushing always did his own stunts, even in the later films when he was clearly a lot older. Which we'll get to. But, a fantastically energetic performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it began the pairing of Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, which went on for many, many years.
Yes.
Did you know this wasn't the first film they were in together?
I kind of assumed it was, for some strange reason.
Well, no, it wasn't. Now I've said that, I realise you had The Curse of Frankenstein the year before.
But, okay.
But before that, they both appeared in Laurence Olivier's Hamlet in 1948, but they never met.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they weren't in the scene together. Christopher Lee was just a background character, which Laurence Olivier didn't even know he was in it. Christopher Lee was, I read this in his biography, Christopher Lee was actually visiting the set because he knew somebody who was working on the film, and the guy just said, do you want to be in this scene? And they made him up and pushed him into the background, and nobody knew he was in it. Obviously he wasn't Christopher Lee then, he wasn't a known actor. This was 1948, but it's on his IMDb page.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Peter Cushing was in that film as well. Because Peter Cushing was a known quantity before the Hammer films. Anyway, he was contracted to the BBC, I believe.
Okay.
And he was in a very famous adaptation of 1984. Which
really?
On BBC television. That was back in the days when they used to perform the programs live.
Oh, okay.
And they showed it one night and then they showed it the next night, but it was 2 separate performances live on telly.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. So that sort of marked Peter Cushing out as an actor to watch, if you like. Okay. So yeah, they did The Curse of Frankenstein, and then that was a success. So they did Dracula.
Very cool.
Yes, it is. I've got to be honest. As this film does get a lot of love. It's not my favourite of this series. It's not a film I grew up with. I didn't see this until probably about 10 years ago, to be honest, because this was one that I don't remember them showing on telly.
Okay.
Certainly not since the 70s, and when I'd have been too young. So it's a good film. I would even say parts of it are great. Obviously, you got the bit Cushing and Lee at the end and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But it's not a film that I'm affectionate towards, if you know what I mean.
I'm surprised by that.
I do like it. You watched it on DVD, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. I watched it on Blu-ray, because there is a fantastic 3-disc Blu-ray edition that's out over here. And I don't know if there's an American edition. I would say if you can get these films on Blu-ray, do, because they are definitely worth it.
Okay. All right. I'll keep that in mind.
They do bring up a lot more than what you see on DVD. I'm just calling it up now because I can't remember who released it. There's a 3-disc set. It's 1 Blu-ray and 2 DVDs. Lionsgate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of good special features on there because there was a lot of missing footage that they found. So on the Blu-ray, you actually get 2 versions of the film. You get the 2007 BFI restoration, which looks lovely, and then you get the 2012 Hammer restoration, which has got some missing footage in.
Oh, gotcha.
You can tell when you're watching it that it's been put in. It's not completely remastered, but yeah, definitely worth getting if you can get hold of it.
You know something funny?
I know lots of things funny.
Whenever you say BFI or I read BFI, I know it's what is it? British Film Institute, I assume.
Yeah.
Over here for many years, many years, BFI was a huge garbage hauler. You know, rubbish from the house. You know, so I always think whenever I hear that, I always think garbage hauler.
So it's their version of Dracula.
But very good. Also, not my favorite of the first batch that we watched.
No, we're only doing the first 5 films in the series this show.
Right.
Who else worth a mention? We mentioned Michael Gough earlier, who plays Alfred in Batman.
Yes.
I don't particularly like him very much in this film. I warmed to him towards the end, but I think the character he plays is just very, very, I don't know what the word is, stiff, I suppose.
I could see that.
Michael Gough appears in a few of these films, not the Dracula ones, but he's in a lot of genre films from the era.
Oh, okay.
He was in a film called Horror Hospital, I think. Or Hospital of Horrors? Horror Hospital? Can't remember. But, yeah, he pops up every now and again. You know, he's just one of them faces that you know.
Right.
But like you said earlier on, I don't think there's anyone else in here really of any note. I'm just scrolling down. Nah. It's a good film. It's an entertaining film.
Absolutely.
I can completely understand why it's some people's favourite. I wouldn't dismiss anybody who said it was. It's not my personal favourite, but it's good. So I'm going to give this one 4 coffins out of 5.
I actually would go with 4 coffins out of 5.
Yeah, it's a solid 4.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Right then, should we move on to the next?
Yes.
Listen to the beat of your heart, Marianne. You hear the beat of fear within you? Fear that will rise to a shattering crescendo of terror. You have strayed into a world of evil, where frightened people are held in the grip of unearthly horror. Beware of pity for the handsome prisoner in the Castle Meister. Beware of love, for in your heart is only the pulsating throb of terror. Starring Peter Cushing,
as the Doctor locked in mortal combat with overwhelming evil. Also starring Frida Jackson as Greta, who served the vampires with insane loyalty.
You needn't be afraid, she's dead.
Martita Hunt, the Baroness, victim of her own son. Beautiful Yvonne Morlor, France's latest sex kitten, as Marianne, whose beauty was her passport to the twilight world of the undead. David Peel as the Baron, blindingly handsome. Yet his kiss transformed the most beautiful girls into monsters.
I'm assuming you've watched this one.
This was an interesting one. Well, to be honest, I got through 3/4 of it, and then my DVD croaked.
Ah, right, okay. Anyway, 1960, The Brides of Dracula.
Yes.
Ooh. Again directed by Terence Fisher. Starring Peter Cushing, Marita Hunt, Yvonne Monlauer, Frida Jackson, David Peel, Henry Oscar, and Michael Ripper. God, I love Michael Ripper.
But there's a absent name from this.
Is there? Tell me what it is.
There is. Where's Christopher Lee?
Where is he indeed? He was approached, apparently. Didn't want to do it.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Then what, he had a change of heart for the next 8 movies?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
There is a story.
But this is the only one that does not have Christopher Lee as Dracula.
Nope, it's one of 2 that doesn't have Christopher Lee as Dracula.
Ooh, that means I have yet to see another one without Christopher Lee as Dracula.
Yeah.
I told you I was the first time watch on these.
Oh, well, interesting. Okay. Right, 1960, Brides of Dracula. Vampire hunter Professor Van Helsing returns to Transylvania to destroy the handsome bloodsucker Baron Meinster, who has designs on beautiful young school teacher Marianne.
Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, Van Helsing, he's still hanging around Transylvania.
That's right.
You know, doing this and that, going to the inn and questioning people and doing what he does.
That's right. How about that lady? That kind of almost creepy lady that comes into the inn and scurries our heroine away to her house.
That's Baroness Meinster.
Yes.
Now, she's played by an actress called Martita Hunt.
She did a fantastic job of playing that creepy
great.
lady.
Now, a little fact, this probably won't mean anything to you, but she is the aunt of Gareth Hunt.
Drawing a blank here.
Gareth Hunt is an actor who was in, you would probably know him, you know the Avengers TV series?
Yes.
He was in that, dark curly-haired guy. I don't know the name of his character, I never watched it.
Okay. I haven't seen much of it, but I do know there is an Avengers TV series.
He's famous for that, and over here he was more famous for doing a lot of coffee ads on the telly in the 80s. Nescafe coffee.
I gotcha.
But I didn't actually know. It's only because I was looking it up the other day. I was looking through to see what other films this actress had been in, and it come up that she's the aunt of Gareth Hunt. I thought, well, there's a nice little fact.
Okay, exactly.
If you know who he is, which I do. So.
Did we say that this was 1960?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so in 1960, by which time Hammer had already done a couple of Frankenstein sequels. This was the first proper sequel to Dracula. Christopher Lee does not appear, but we have Baron Meinster, who is played by an actor called David Peel.
You know what strikes me as funny about this?
Yeah.
Is it's always implied, and of course not like the modern day vampires, that Christopher Lee's Dracula has some beyond human strength.
Yeah.
And yet we have Baron Meinster shackled with what can only be described as a small chain to his room.
Yeah, Christopher Lee would have just busted that within 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think, like with a lot of these films, if you really examine them and pick them apart, you can. It's quite easy. But
well, that one kind of stuck out at me, and we're also going to get to talk about another thing that stuck out at me that I was very surprised at in one of the films.
Oh, not this film?
No. It will not be this film.
Well, we'll get to that.
It will be Risen from the Grave.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get there in a bit. But anyway, yeah, this film always reminds me of Suspiria.
Why is that?
It's the bit about the young girl, the Marianne character, played by Yvonne Monlaur. It's the bit of her because she's travelling to a school, isn't she? Where she's going to take on a job as a teacher. But it's just
student.
Sorry. Yeah, so it's, I don't know, it's that element of the story. It just always reminds me of Suspiria. You know, the young lady approaching the school in the dark depths of some place she doesn't know, the creepy lady who's in charge.
Right.
Know, all that sort of stuff. It just puts me in that frame of mind.
Yes.
I think Argento may have seen this film and been inspired by it. I don't know. And obviously, I don't think Argento used any of these to make Dracula 3D. I think
it has a 7-foot praying mantis.
I think he was inspired he was inspired by Saturday morning cartoons for that one. Yeah, Brides of Dracula, I'll say, it's the Halloween 3 of the series.
I can see that.
It's the one, because Christopher Lee's not in it, people always go, oh, no, I don't like that one. Christopher Lee's not in it. It's not that good. It is quite good. I quite like it.
If you just take it out of the Dracula series, and just consider it on its own, the first 80% that I saw was very good.
Yeah,
But then my Wi-Fi took a took a bunk and ran away, and my DVD, my stream, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it fell.
It all went tits up.
Yeah.
So
yes,
it takes a while for Peter Cushing to get in the film. I think I timed it around about 45 minutes before he appears.
Yes.
When he does, the film sort of shifts a gear. Up until that point, it's very much, I would say, gothic melodrama.
Well, yes, because you have somebody locked in a dungeon, so to speak, and you have a young, impressionable starlet there not understanding what's going on. And
as we said before, the character of the Baroness Meinster is a fantastic character. Very Bava-esque, I thought, a lot of it. If you look at the film Black Sabbath.
I have seen it, but it's been a long, long time.
I think there's a stylistic comparison between the two, even though this came first, obviously, but, you know, I think there's a lot of comparisons there. Yeah, it's a creepy film. You know, once Peter Cushing appears, it picks up and turns into a bit more action-orientated. David Peel is fine as the main vampire. He's no Christopher Lee, but then who is?
That's right.
Yeah, it loses it a little bit towards the end. I think the way the vampire goes out with the shadow of the windmill on him forming the cross is a little bit, really.
Well,
if we looked at everything that formed a cross, vampires wouldn't be able to move at all, would they?
No.
You know, the stitching on my jacket looks like a fucking cross. I could just stand in front of a vampire and I'll be fine, you know.
Well, you know, I mean, hey, at least they were thinking.
Yeah, they were thinking. And at least, say, the way he went out, he got the cross and he got burned and all the other stuff. It was quite brutal for a film of that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a solid film. It's not a great film, but it's definitely not the worst of the series, like a lot of people seem to think that it is.
Right.
It could have done with Christopher Lee. He's not in it, but what we've got is still pretty good.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to give this one 3.5 coffins out of 5.
I have to give what I saw only 3 coffins.
Okay, yeah, you didn't see it all the way to the very end, but yeah, I would say go back and give it a watch. Watch the whole thing.
I want to.
Do it. You sounded like a little child then. I want to. Oh dear.
Dear me, yes.
Should we move on to the next?
Yes, and that will be in 1966, Dracula, Prince of Darkness.
Ooh.
At this lonely crossroad in the Carpathian Mountains, 4 travelers find themselves abandoned at nightfall by a local coach driver who was afraid to go any further.
There's no driver.
A coach with horses that knew the way, a table laid for 4. Was this kindly hospitality?
Isn't your master joining us for dinner?
No, sir. I'm afraid not.
Is he indisposed?
He's dead.
Why should a dead man be interested in entertaining guests? Dracula, Prince of Darkness, King of the Vampires. For 10 years, his mortal remains were cherished by his faithful servant, awaiting the opportunity and a victim to provide the life force for the reincarnation of Dracula. A strange premonition warns the guests at Castle Dracula that their host is ready to receive them.
I must kill him. He is already dead. He is undead, Mr. Kent. He can be destroyed, but not killed.
Where's Charles? You don't need Charles.
Yes. Now we're getting serious.
Yes, we are.
Again, Terence Fisher directs.
Jimmy Sangster writes.
We have Christopher Lee. Yay!
Yeah. He's back.
He's back. We have Barbara Shelley. We have Andrew Keir, Francis Matthews, Thorley Walters, and you can bet your ass Michael Ripper's in there somewhere. He probably is. He was in. You won't know this. Michael Ripper appeared in about 90% of the Hammer films from 1960 to 1970. Always playing a different character, but he just pops up. You'll know his face when you see him, but I don't think he's in this one actually.
Now this one I thoroughly enjoyed. Would you like to know why?
Why did you enjoy it, Myron?
Absolutely, the butler Clove.
Clove.
I really liked Clove.
Played by Philip Latham.
He did a great job.
Yeah, he's no Alfred, is he?
Yeah, but still, he played that creepy butler thing. He did really well.
He did. Well, the plot of this one is quite simple. 4 visitors travelling across Europe end up at Dracula's castle, and Dracula is resurrected. And
yes.
And he picks them off.
But they end up there by possessed horses.
As we all do.
Of course.
Yeah. I love this film too. For a long time, this was my favourite of the series. The whole series.
I can actually understand why. It was out of the first 3 we mentioned, it certainly was the best.
It's probably the one I've seen the most. This was regularly shown on telly when I was a kid. It still is. You can guarantee at least once a year there'll be some channel showing this one. Yeah, there's no Peter Cushing this time. And as much as I love Peter Cushing, I don't think the film suffers too much for him not being in it.
I don't think so either.
I don't think it suffers as much as, say, Bride suffered by not having Christopher Lee.
Correct. I would absolutely agree.
I think Lee's presence is what makes it. He doesn't say a single word in this one. There are various reasons as to why, depending on who you want to believe. Christopher Lee says that he refused to read any of the words that were scripted for him. Whereas Jimmy Sangster says they didn't write a script for him.
Well, of course, Jimmy says that.
So it's, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and the truth is probably in the middle somewhere.
Come on, you can imagine Christopher Lee saying that.
Oh, yeah,
proper,
absolutely.
Being the proper stiff upper lip British, something, I'm not bloody reading any of these shitty lines.
I'd like to imagine Christopher Lee just looked at the script, turned to him and went, "Oh, just fuck off."
That's right, something like that.
But I don't think he did.
In perfect, proper British manners, of course.
No. But he doesn't need a script because his presence says it all, I think.
That's right.
The way he walks across that set with that cape ballooning, it's magnificent.
I did read somewhere where his blood eye contacts were very painful and he couldn't see a damn thing.
That's right, yes. Yeah, because they used proper glass back then, didn't they?
But imagine that. Those contacts, lenses back in, let's see, I gotta look, 1966, 1958.
Yeah. You may as well have put those glasses on with the eyes with the silly springs on the front, hadn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You'd have seen more out of them.
I mean, that must have hurt.
Yeah, you can see why Dracula was a bit pissy, can't you?
Yes. Exactly. This had an interesting thing for me. Not the most interesting. But the running water will drown him.
Yes.
Mr. Chris, where did that come from? Because I don't know.
From Stoker.
Okay, and they've just adapted it a bit.
Yes, yeah, it's from Stoker. We haven't got Peter Cushing in this film, but we do have Andrew Keir playing Father Sandor, the monk. Fantastic performance.
Absolutely.
Again, he's no Peter Cushing in terms of being an athletic character, but he's got a lot of weight to him, both literally and figuratively.
Yes.
He's a big booming presence. Who seems to know all about the vampires, all about Dracula. He's the guy you'd want to stand next to you on the battlefield.
Exactly. If you choose not to take my advice.
That's it.
If there's really a question why anybody, should ignore him.
Well, here we go. But yeah, Andrew Keir, I mean, he's appeared in a few Hammer films. He was another one of their sort of stock actors. Probably best known for Quatermass and the Pit.
Okay.
You seen that? You probably haven't seen that one then?
I have not seen that one.
No, but he's in a few. He's been in a few Doctor Who things, and he's one of them faces that you see him pop up every now and again in something.
Gotcha.
You mentioned Clove, Philip Latham. I'd like to have seen Clove appear in another film. That would have been pretty cool. I
would too. I really enjoyed the Renfield Butler kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, Clove does appear in another film. He appears in one of the ones later on, but it's a different actor.
Oh.
We'll get to it. It won't be this show. It'll be the next show.
Okay.
But, we'll get there. The other one I wanted to mention was Francis Matthews, who plays Charles, who's sort of the main guy out of the four travellers.
Yes.
Again, another stock Hammer face. He's in lots of things. He was in Revenge of Frankenstein. That's the one that springs to mind. He's in a few other things. He's just one of them actors I just like to see. If he's in a Hammer film, Francis Matthews in it, he'll be good. He's just one of those.
And this one, very cool. This one gets points for vampire kill at the end, though.
You think that's the best vampire kill?
No, I'm just saying it gets points for creativity.
Oh, yeah. Visually, it's not the best one.
I thoroughly enjoyed shoot the thing and they drown Dracula.
Yeah, that's it. And you've got, say, Ludwig, the Thorley Walters character, who's sort of a throwback to Renfield.
Yes.
They do bring bits of Stoker in here and there in the Hammer films. I don't think this film necessarily needed him, but quite a fun little performance anyway.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So what do you give Coffins on this one, Chris?
I'm going to go 4.5.
And I'm at a solid 4.
Yeah, I love this film. I've grown up with this film. This was my go-to one for many, many years. It's probably a bit, like Star Wars now. I've probably seen it so many times I'm sort of numb to it now. But I still enjoy it. If it's on telly late at night, I'm flicking through the channels, it's on. I'll always stick it on.
I can understand that. Still, it's a very, very good movie.
Yeah, it is.
You know what? I'm going to have to change mine. I have to go to 4.5.
Yeah.
Because, would you like to know why?
4 doesn't seem enough for it.
Well, it's better than Dracula, so I have to go higher than Dracula.
Okay, we're agreed on that one then.
Sweet.
Okay.
Now we move on to 1968.
No coffin could ever hold him. No door could ever bar his way. He is back from the dead.
Count Dracula is alive.
Dracula has risen from the grave. Dracula, the most fearsome name in any language. The most feared being ever to haunt the living.
There is a girl.
Maria?
Bring her to me. During the hours of darkness, she must never be left alone.
Bring her to me! Christopher Lee, Rupert Davis, Veronica Carlson, Hammer's new star discovery, Dracula's most beautiful victim. Dracula has risen from the grave. To resist him is useless. To rise against him is futile. To know him is eternal damnation. Dracula has risen from the grave.
Dracula has risen from the grave.
Yes, he has.
Which is a pretty literal title.
Yes, and this one it is.
It is, directed by Freddie Francis this time, not by Terence Fisher.
Mr. Anthony Hines wrote the screenplay.
He did.
So we don't have Jimmy anymore.
No, we have Anthony Hines, who was also a very prolific writer within the Hammer stable. We have Christopher Lee, again, as Dracula. We have Rupert Davis as the Monsignor, Veronica Carlson, Barbara Ewing, Michael Ripper's in this one, yay! George A. Cooper, who you won't know, but he played the caretaker in Grange Hill in the 80s, which was a kids' programme.
Okay. And let's, we need to correct that. The Monsignor, a.k.a. the Mountain Goat.
Okay.
Did you see that cliff that man scaled?
Yes, I know, yeah.
I mean, with, a cross strapped on his back, did you see the cliff that he scaled?
For a man of his age and his size, it was quite impressive, wasn't it?
That one shot where there's a sheer rock wall straight up, and then the next shot is him standing in front of the castle. I mean, all I was thinking is, really?
Okay, plot for this one is, when his castle is exorcised, Dracula plots his revenge against the Monsignor who performed the rites by attempting to make the holy man's young niece his bride. Right then, what do you reckon of this one?
It's not a bad one, but okay, so obviously this is a direct sequel, if you will, to Prince of Darkness.
Yes.
And we'll get to that later because I have to ask my question. But in the Prince of Darkness, obviously there is a neat horse-drawn path to the castle.
Yeah.
In this one, we have two elderly priests scaling what can only be described as a sheer rock wall.
Yes.
So that was a little bit of a, really, guys? So that kind of took it down a notch.
I think they were assuming that people wouldn't remember that.
Well, it's kind of hard to.
Well, yeah.
It's just kind of tough.
Yeah.
Because the priest panics, right?
Yeah.
And he runs and he falls down the mountainside and somehow crashes into the very water that Christopher Lee is immersed in with what can be described as ice over it.
Yeah. He's frozen in the water.
He's frozen in the water. And the ice cracks. Christopher Lee gets out, and here's my question. We see a reflection of Dracula.
Ah.
Why do we see a reflection of Dracula?
Well, that's easy to answer.
Please do.
Is it someone fucked it up?
But that really stuck out in the movie. I'm like, did I just see a reflection of Dracula? Hit the rewind button. There's a reflection of Dracula.
It's interesting you bring that up, because I think this relates back to the fact that we have a different director on board here. Freddie Francis directed this, as opposed to Terence Fisher, and I think this is the start of the films losing a little bit of their gravitas. I'm not putting that at the feet completely of Freddie Francis, because he's a very competent director. He's directed several films for Hammer, and lots of other films besides. I mean, he directed Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, and Evil of Frankenstein, and The Skull, and lots of other good films.
Okay.
I don't think they had the budget for this one that they had before, and I think it was just a case of Hammer were now knocking these films out pretty quickly. We've only got Christopher Lee for so long, we don't want to piss him off because he's going to go off in a strop. Let's just knock this film out.
Okay.
And I think that is what it is more than anything else. You know, we'll forget creativity. People won't remember that. It's been 2-3 years since the last film. Just knock this one out.
Am I right about the observations of the road and the reflection?
Again, I'll just say different director, different crew members. You know, it's not like nowadays where every film that is released is scrutinised over and over, and then if you release a sequel and there's a detail that's different, everybody gets on the internet and calls you a wanker and all this sort of stuff. It's just
nobody does that on the internet ever.
No.
Ever.
Yeah, like fuck. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's just the case. Knock another film out. You know, that was the last film. This is a new film. We'll tie it in this way, but don't pay too much attention to what you saw before.
Gotcha.
I think that's all it is, to be honest. They had to persuade Christopher Lee to come back for this one, as they did for the last one, but even more so this one. From what I understand it, Christopher Lee just refused to be in any more Dracula films, and they laid a guilt trip on him, basically. These films...
That guilt trip has lasted well into the 70s.
See how long they can milk it for. It's because Hammer films were distributed or backed by American companies like Warner's and Universal and whatnot. And I think it was basically... I'll get into this a little bit more on the next one, but it was... we're making a Dracula film, can we have some money? And the American backers said, yes, of course you can have some money. Where's Christopher Lee? He's not in this one. Well, get him in it.
Yeah, that's
basically it. So, from what I understand, they used to phone Christopher Lee up and basically say, if you don't do this film, you're going to put a lot of people out of work.
God.
Which is basically the British way of doing things.
Has Christopher Lee ever written a biography?
Yes.
Have you read it?
Yes.
Does it talk about this kind of stuff?
Yes.
Bloody hell!
Yeah,
maybe I should get that.
Yeah, it's it was called Lord of Misrule, I think, his biography, the one I read. I gave it away to somebody, and I really wish I hadn't, because I want to read it again.
My Kindle reading device is currently doubling as my mic stand, as our 4 seasons of Seinfeld.
Oh,
so
right.
I can elevate the mic so I don't have to hunch over.
Okay, but yeah. Basically, they phoned him up. We're making Dracula film. You're in it. Otherwise, we're all going to be out of work.
I wonder what he thought. Oh, for fuck's sake, another Dracula movie?
Well, I think what he thought comes across in the film, because I think out of the 5 that we're doing today, this is my least favourite.
Really?
Yeah. It's not my least favourite of the whole series, but out of the 5 that we're covering today, I think this is the weakest one.
It was... certainly not as strong as Prince of Darkness or Dracula.
Okay.
It's hard for me to judge. I'd probably put it on the same level as Brides. Maybe a tick below.
Okay.
But I kind of what I liked about this one that I like about the previous one is it, kind of brought the church in on the circle of vampirism.
Yes, that's what I like about this film. Yeah.
We don't get that much. There's movies that have done it badly, like The Cloth, and there's movies that have done it well, like John Carpenter's Vampires.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but the Cloth is based on that kind of a premise as well, where the church knows, and it's just so horribly done that starring Danny Trejo, and I think he's in it like for.
Well, you say starring Danny Trejo. He's in it for about a minute and a half.
Well, he's on the DVD cover. They got to sell those DVDs.
Yeah. I think that got pulled over here. I was sent a review copy of that, and then I was told we're putting back the release date, and I never got which is good because I turned it off after 5 minutes. It was shit.
Oh, you had to see it through.
No, I don't.
It was.
I do still have the disc.
Danny Trejo was his 90 minutes or 90 seconds was the best performance of the movie.
Before he died. Before he got killed.
Yes. But anyways, back to Dracula.
Yeah.
But I did like that church thing.
Yeah, I do like the fact that Dracula sort of takes control of that priest. The priest's name escapes me. Played by Ewan Hooper. A very distinctive-looking gentleman. And
he did a great job with Clove-like Renfield performance.
Yeah, he did remind me a bit of Clove, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of Dracula having a priest sort of doing his bidding. I like the Monsignor character, played by...
Oh, I do too.
Played by Rupert Davis. Very similar to the monk in the last film, Andrew Keir's monk.
I think the monk had more upstairs than the character of the Monsignor. The Monsignor is kind of a bumbling old fool who just wishes that everything was well.
Well, he's a bit of a
life.
Puritan, but I think when the shit hits the fan later in the film, he steps up to become the sort of hero.
He does. He does step up.
And Rupert Davis is a great actor anyway. He's in a Pete Walker film called Frightmare from about 1974, I want to say, which is sort of a British take on not Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but sort of, the sort of fucked up family type thing.
Gotcha.
Cracking film, one of my favourites, really, really good film. He's in that. Again, a bit like Andrew Keir, he's got that weight, that gravitas.
Yes.
I know his character may be a little bit stuffy and old-fashioned at the beginning. Once he realises that it's all going to go down, he sort of steps up to the mark and becomes a bit more likeable.
Absolutely. And my God, how can you not like the man who can, scale a sheer mountain wall?
A 20-stone man in his late 50s.
That's right.
Scaling that wall with a crucifix on his back. Yeah.
And get down again.
Yes, absolutely. Script for the next Rambo film right there, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, this film.
It is.
Basically, the film is Dracula can't get back in his castle because the Monsignors put a big crucifix on the door.
Right.
That seems to be at the centre of it.
Not that there's like 1,000 other entrances, but he's,
No, I mean, Dracula could just turn to a bat and fly up to the roof, couldn't he? There's bound to be a fan light open somewhere.
That's right. I'm sure they had fan lights back in the day.
Oh, of course. Well, in the first Dracula film, there was just an open hole in the side of the castle, wasn't there?
There was, yes.
Yeah, there we go. See, continuity again.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a very middle one, this one. There's not enough Christopher Lee in it. When he is on the screen, he just growls and says things, I think, just reading the script, not really bothering to put much into it. Not that he was ever less than professional, but you get the feeling he's doing this just because...
He might put people out of work.
They blackmailed him, basically.
Yes. In the British sense.
Yeah, I mean, when he's on the screen, he's fine, but he's not on it enough.
I would agree.
I'd say the Monsignor character is fine. The character of Paul, played by Barry Andrews, he was quite good for a hero.
Yes.
A bit annoying at first, but his confrontations with the Monsignor are quite fun, when he sort of tells the Monsignor he's an atheist.
Yeah, that went over well.
That went down well, yeah. Go into a Monsignor's house and tell him you're an atheist. But again,
exactly right.
That sort of plays into the story a bit. It's the religion versus superstition thing. I think it could nowadays that would certainly be developed a lot more. than what it was
Right.
back in the 60s. Obviously, 68 is obviously a pivotal year for horror films because of Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
So obviously things like this were starting to look a little bit old. Yeah, this is the turning point for the series, really.
It does kind of begin to take a more modern versus gothic feel.
Yeah. And
I think we see that in the next one.
Okay. I do like the way Dracula goes out in this one, though. Quite bloody and brutal. He gets impaled on a giant cross.
Yes.
Yeah, it's it looks a bit tacky now, but in the mindset of the 60s, I think it would have been quite a brutal little scene.
They had quite a few of those. I mean, even in through the series, you get those little gore clips where the blood flies, or there's a lot of blood, and you think you got to put it in context. It quite well.
Yeah, I mean that shot where he's impaled on the crucifix and he looks up at the camera and he's got blood dripping from his eyes and things. That still looks okay. I think it still works within the series.
Absolutely.
But it's not as much fun as where the films would go later on, and it's not as magnificent as the film we got before it, basically. So
yes, I agree.
I'm going with 3 coffins on this one.
Me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a very middle one. It's not bad, but it's not great. Right. Where are we going next?
Next, we move to 1970.
Feel the cold grip of his presence. Sense the clammy excitement of his evil. Taste the sharp fear that he alone can bring.
Dracula's blood.
This way, gentlemen. We know the way. These men thought they had tasted all that life had to offer.
Ready when you are, gentlemen.
Would you be willing to sell your souls to the devil?
If one thought that one's experience might be extended.
It would be extended to infinity.
There's something there. Dracula is back to choose his human victims.
Alice.
Who are you? How do you know my name?
Dracula is back to select his companions in darkness, who must die that he may live. If you shock easily, stay away.
She's neither dead nor alive.
Lucy! Lucy! Lucy!
Paxton! Paxton, listen to me! The marks on her neck! She's a vampire!
Prepare yourself. Every nerve, every muscle.
No.
Prepare yourself for the greatest shock of all.
Taste the blood of Dracula.
1970, Taste the Blood of Dracula. And they do.
They do. I think literally.
They do.
We have a different director this time.
Peter Sasdy. I never realised that. Peter Sasdy directed that. Oh, right. Yes, he directed Countess Dracula for Hammer. And Hands of the Ripper. Another one. Oh, right, yeah, okay.
And Anthony Hines again writes.
He does. And again, we get Christopher Lee, who was blackmailed back one more time. If in that position, you could demand a huge salary, couldn't you?
Chris, this is Hammer again.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
the story. You're going to put people out of work.
No unions then.
I got to do something for fuck's sake.
Okay, yeah. So we got Christopher Lee, we got Jeffrey Keane, who we know from the Bond films. And we've got Linda Hayden, Peter Sallis, Anthony Higgins, Ralph Bates, Roy Kinnear, Michael Ripper, yay! And Martin Jarvis. So, plot of this one is 3 middle-aged distinguished gentlemen searching for some excitement on the next level, and so they get in contact with one of Dracula's disciples, who resurrects the Count.
That's right.
Right. Taste the blood of Dracula. Go on then.
Interesting film. I enjoyed it thoroughly, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we see the church tie-in, although more on the occult end of things.
Yes.
Almost kind of a, like you said, turning point. We've had the proper church folk involved, and now all of a sudden we're moving to the devil involvement.
Mm-hmm.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. The old guys that raised the count are like, oh shit, what did we do?
Yeah.
I believe we even have the gentleman who plays M crying at one point.
Yes, Jeffrey Keane, yes he does.
Yes, yeah. Over his sorrows. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. This was the second Hammer film that I watched, right after Dracula 1972 AD.
Right.
So it was, I did enjoy this one, I have to say. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you said that.
You hated it?
No, I like this one.
Oh.
This is after Dracula Prince of Darkness. This is my favourite of the ones we're doing today. I
would absolutely agree.
Yeah, I like this film. It is a bit like the last film. It's looking a little bit cheaper, a little bit more exploitation-y maybe, but it's fun. By Christ, it's fun.
Oh God, yes.
It's a good story. It's got lots of recognisable faces in it, especially if you're British. Peter Sallis is in this, who we know from Last of the Summer Wine. He's also, you might know him. Do you know the Wallace and Gromit animated stuff?
Yes.
He's the voice of Wallace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Very well-known British actor. Martin Jarvis is in this, another known British actor who played the young Peter Cushing in The Curse of Frankenstein. But also, we get Ralph Bates in this one, who... This wasn't originally going to be a Dracula film. This was...
Really?
Yes. This is where, like I said last time, the American distributors wanted Christopher Lee. Ralph Bates was originally going to be the lead in the film. He plays Lord Courtly, who's the guy who resurrects Dracula. At the time, Hammer were looking for their next star.
Okay.
And they thought that Ralph Bates was it, basically. But this was originally going to be a film with him as the lead, not necessarily as Dracula, but as a vampire. But obviously the Americans said, no, we want Christopher Lee. So he got shoehorned in. They also used Bates to replace Peter Cushing as Baron Frankenstein in The Horror of Frankenstein, which
really?
I think came out the same year, which was sort of like a soft reboot of the series, but it didn't go down well. Not due to Ralph Bates, but due to the script basically was shit. But yeah, Hammer were really pushing Ralph Bates to be their next sort of star, and I don't think it quite happened. He never quite got the sort of the heights of Cushing or Lee, but I do like him. He was known in the 80s over here for a comedy called Do you remember? There was an American remake. Do you remember a comedy called Dear John?
No, I don't.
In the 80s, it was about a man, middle-aged divorcee, goes to a singles club every week.
No,
it
doesn't sound like something I would have watched.
No, but it was on in here in the 80s, and he played the title character. There was an American version.
Gotcha.
He died, sadly, sort of late 80s, I think, early 90s. But I do like him in this one.
Gotcha. I mean, it's a fun one. That's for sure. And I'm assuming this is 1970, so what is the first Dracula movie from Hammer? Would that have been 72 AD?
Say again.
What's the next film in the series?
Scars of Dracula.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet. Okay.
Yeah, came out the same year.
I was going to say, this one really seems to be a turning point, though. I mean, it's different flair, different style
I think
than the first four.
It helps that we've moved away from Transylvania, I think.
Yes, I believe it does.
I don't think it's ever specifically said where they are, but I'm assuming it's London.
It sure has that impression. That's where I assumed they were while I was watching the movie.
Yeah, and it seems to be a little bit later in time, maybe sort of towards the turn of the century.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's got a different feel to the ones that have gone before it.
Yes, it does. Very much so.
Again, the story's pretty basic. It is literally Dracula is resurrected by Lord Courtly for the amusement of 3 rich gentlemen who are part of a sort of hellfire type club, and obviously then one of them's got a daughter that Dracula gets his eye on.
Yes.
And it all goes from there.
Exactly.
And again, it's just it's so damn entertaining.
It is, and that's why I enjoyed the God, which one? Oh, the other favorite of mine, the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah,
it just was chock full of entertainment.
Yeah, the faces pop up. You go, oh, it's that guy from him, blah blah blah, and everybody does a good performance. Christopher Lee doesn't do much. I don't think he has to. He just sort of stands in the background and looks a bit menacing. I think this film, to be honest,
do you think that's because all the directors are afraid to give him any advice for fear of getting
probably
getting a dressing down, or I don't know what the proper term would be.
Yeah.
Getting their asses kicked, maybe, I don't know.
Something like that. I think because of the strength of the story in this one, I think if you took Christopher Lee out of this film, it wouldn't make that much of a difference.
This is the first one where I would say yes.
I don't think you need him in this one. I think Ralph Bates does enough to convey that sort of menacing evil. Even though he's not as big and tall as Christopher Lee, he's got that look of somebody who's up to no good.
I think the strength of this story would lend itself to any vampire only being on screen for 5 minutes total.
Yeah.
I don't think they need a lot of appearances of Dracula in this one.
Yeah.
Because of the strength of the story and the actors.
That's right. I mean, Jeffrey Keane, Peter Sallis, and Anthony Higgins, who played the 3 main gentlemen, they're all pretty solid performances.
Yes.
They sell their characters pretty well of what they go through and what their eventual what happens to them. Yeah, it's just a solid film. It's good fun. Roy Kinnear's in this as well. I don't know if you know who he is. He's the guy who collects the blood at the beginning of Dracula and sells it to Ralph Bates.
Yes, I remember.
Yep, he's, and again, another British actor who was in lots of things in the 70s and 80s.
Gotcha.
Sadly no longer with us. I think he's the dad of Rory Kinnear, who's in the Bond films now, plays Tanner.
Tanner.
You know, Bond's assistant sort of thing. The MI6 guy.
Oh! Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just a really, really good film. I think if you were getting into Hammer films, this is one of the ones you could probably do with looking at first to get a flavour, without it going too serious or too melodramatic.
I will tell you, this was the second one that I watched.
Yeah.
And yes, I can absolutely support that claim.
Yeah.
It is. It's like, it gives you a very good impression of, oh, these are going to be a crap ton of fun. And let's be honest, Chris, even the lower tier ones so far that we've talked about, Brides and Risen, they're still fun movies.
Oh, yeah. But some are more fun than others.
Yeah, exactly. They would never fall into the bad or the ugly category.
Oh, no.
Of our show.
They're all good of a level, but
so I hope nobody gets that impression.
No, I don't think any of these films are bad.
Yeah.
There is one I think is bad, but we'll get there next week.
Okay.
I scored it a solid 4 on Letterboxd.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I that's exactly what I would have scored it as, a 4. So far, obviously, my favorite is Prince of Darkness.
Yep. I'm scoring this a solid 4 coffins out of 5. I think maybe a couple of production details maybe let it down, but as entertainment, as a story, it's absolutely solid.
I know I was feeling ill this week. I heard you were under the weather.
Yeah.
Is that why we're agreeing so much?
Probably. Maybe there's a change in the air. So you're going with a solid 4 as well?
I have to, yeah.
Excellent.
It's just a tick below Prince of Darkness because I love that monk dude. I loved that monk dude.
Yeah, I think I've got more of a history with Prince of Darkness. I've just seen it so many times. Taste of Blood of Dracula and Risen from the Grave were both. I remember them both being shown on telly.
Okay.
So I had seen them before. So okay, well that's the first 5 films in the Dracula series. So what are your overall impressions so far?
It's funny. It's 5 reasonably solid sequels.
Hmm.
Do we even get that anymore?
not at such a level of consistency, I wouldn't have said, no.
I mean, usually, especially now, I mean, certainly, retrospectively, we could probably make the case of the first, 4 Halloweens, the first 4 Freddy's.
Whoa. First 4 Halloweens? First 3, I think you'll find.
All right. But again, see, we can have this argument but I don't think we could both agree on this level of consistency of having, essentially, 4 sequels that hold their own?
Yeah.
This well?
Even the worst of them, which I think is the worst of them, which is Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, is still a decent film.
Absolutely.
Now, if it was the only Dracula film Hammer ever made, then I'd still say, yeah, it's alright, it's pretty good. It's just living up to the films that are either side of it.
Right. Exactly.
I think next time's discussion is going to be a bit more interesting.
Oh, I've only seen one of the 4.
Ah, well, there you go. I think there is a bit more of a bit less consistency in the next 4.
But and I think that's the thing that impressed me is after I got done watching them and I'm taking notes, I'm thinking, there's really not a bad one in the lot. Do we even get that anymore with I just don't.
Rare.
I don't. It's extremely rare. And the only franchise I can think of, and I'm not saying in terms of quality, but just sheer ass consistency, is the Final Destination franchise. They were consistent through the whole thing.
That's a good call, yeah.
Whether or not we can debate how good they were, okay, that's a discussion for another day. But I think if we compare consistency to consistency, that's the only one that really comes to mind where,
There was no massive deviation from any of them, was there?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good, interesting little comparison, but yeah, I'll agree with that.
But overall, it's been, thank you, Chris, thank you, Sean, for setting a deadline where I had to watch these.
Does it make you want to watch more Hammer films that aren't Dracula ones?
Yes.
It does?
Yes,
okay.
It does.
Oh, well.
Because I'm really curious now. Now I'm curious.
You see, you think the obvious place to go now after these is Frankenstein?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Well, we'll mark it down to do later in the year, maybe.
Ah, there we go.
I do have them all.
I'm sure that you do.
I do. Yeah, that'll be interesting when we get to it, because they're fairly consistent as well, but when it deviates, it does deviate quite a lot.
Okay, gotcha.
So that would be interesting. Yeah, and also the non-franchise Hammer stuff like Devil Rides Out. You never seen that?
No, but you have recommended that. You have recommended that to me.
That's probably my favourite Hammer film of them all.
Yes, you've said that, yeah.
Yeah, and there's Twins of Evil, the Karnstein trilogy you'll love, which is Twins of Evil, Lust for a Vampire, and Vampire Lovers. It's called the Karnstein trilogy. They're not connected in any way, but they're basically the same story told 3 times.
Oh, nice.
But that's when Hammer took on nudity.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Big time.
Did they just throw open the door and rip it all off, or is it kind of, you get a nip slip here and there?
Both.
Oh, Lord help us. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, I mean, by 1970, Hammer had sort of, like I said, Night of the Living Dead had sort of set a new benchmark for horror.
Okay.
And you also had the onset of the exploitation films, Last House on the Left and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
So Hammer upped their game both with the horror and with the sex. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. So, it'll be interesting to see if we get round to any of those films.
Well, we could do whatever we want.
We can. We're not tied to anyone. Fuck them.
That's right.
Oh, well, I'd recommend you seek out Twins of Evil then, at least.
Okay.
It's easily available.
Okay.
And Cushing is magnificent in it. He doesn't get naked, fortunately.
Yeah.
In fact, if you like the Puritan figure of the Monsignor from from Dracula Has Risen from the Grave,
I do.
And if you think about Vincent Price's take on Matthew Hopkins in Which Find a General,
okay,
have you seen that?
Nope.
No.
Write it down now.
Means fuck all to you then. It was called The Conqueror Worm in America, I think. Basically, if you get those two characters together, you've got Peter Cushing's character from Twins of Evil, the Puritan who sort of comes good at the end. Oh, you need to see it.
Of Evil.
Twins of Evil, and I'd recommend Devil Rides Out anyway, because it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the first 5 Hammer Dracula films. Tidied up.
Great fun. Go watch them all.
Great fun. Yeah, say they're usually on telly somewhere at some point at any given week, but they are available.
Well, maybe for you guys.
They are available on various DVD and Blu-ray formats. Unfortunately, it's not one company that owns the license to them all, so you do have to seek out these various versions.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I've got that 4-film one that you've got.
Yes.
The 4 films of Dracula, which has got Horror of Dracula, Taste the Blood of Dracula, Risen from the Grave, and AD 72 on it.
Okay.
That's a fantastic set. It's a Region 1 if you can find it, but you can get it fairly cheap on Amazon and eBay and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think I paid less than $10 for it.
Yeah, I think I only paid about £7 for it, I think.
There you go.
Prince of Darkness is available on Blu-ray over here by Studio Canal, I think. Hang on, that's going to bug me now. I'll bloody own it. Yeah, it is. It's Studio Canal, I own that one, yes.
The OCD flares again.
It is. I've got nothing else to add. Anything you want to say before we go?
Me neither.
No. Okay, then. So, next time... Go on.
You definitely need to watch, because I'm curious now. When Animals Dream. I'm curious what you think. You'll probably think it's total shite, but, you know.
Probably. It sounds like... There's a TV show over here. It's like one of these clip shows, and it's called when...
Yes.
Something like When Good Animals Go Bad, or something like that. That's what I keep thinking of whenever you say that.
We have When Animals Attack over here.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
What's it called? When Animals Dream.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, it's a foreign film. There we go.
It is. I couldn't remember where it was made.
It was made in Denmark. It's a Denmark-France sort of coalition thing.
Okay.
Oh, it looks interesting. I will seek that one out.
You should. Give it a go.
Okay.
It's rare that I can find a movie that you haven't seen.
That's very true. Very true. I do watch a lot. I hope to get on with life, really, didn't I? Nah. Right.
Nah.
Right then, so I will say then, if you want to see what we're up to, head on over to ancientslumber.wordpress.com. There's always new stuff going up on over there. Follow us on Twitter at ancient_slumber, or I am Horrorsmith, and you are...
MASCHEM67.
Exactly. We're always on Twitter. We're always up for a chat about films. You can follow us on Letterboxd as well. That's it. We'll speak to you soon when we come back with the last 4 Dracula films.
I can't wait.
Me neither. I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
It's as they say, Monseigneur. The castle is still evil. You can feel it. You can't imagine what it's like.
I am not unacquainted with evil. The question is, what are we going to do about it?
I don't know.
Has anybody been up there since that time?
To the castle?
Yes. Have you been?
No. Never.
Then you should have gone. To prove there is nothing to fear.
Me?
Yes. I will come with you.
When?
Tomorrow, at first light. You will be ready. Otherwise, I shall have to go alone. That would not be easy for me. You know the mountains well, I do not.
warned you not to go anywhere near the castle, Mr. Kent.